Hello, my name's Sarah from Neate Physio, and today's video is actually a really common question I get asked from my breast cancer patients, which is when and how can I return to my sport or fitness activity? Whether that's yoga or Pilates, CrossFit and strength conditioning, swimming or netball, or just a general class in your local leisure centre, it's a really important question to know actually when am I safe to return and how can I build up my body for that specific activity. And another really important question is there anything I can do to watch out for or prevent issues such as developing lymphedema? Before we begin, however, it's important to say that everyone has their own medical history, social history, and physical limitations, as well as their own treatment pathway. So check with a medical professional before doing any type of exercise, just to make sure it is safe and suitable for you. The other thing that's important to say is we need to work on our mobility, stability, and strength first, which I cover in my previous videos on breast cancer rehab. So please make sure you follow along those couple of videos to work on your mobility, stability, and strength. The reason these three principles are important is they are the foundation to reduce your risk of injury. So mobility, for example, is an easy thing to test yourself, and it's making sure that both shoulders are as symmetrical as possible. So maybe not achieving what we call full range, because we've all got our own different range standard, but making sure that your left and your right shoulder are as matched as possible. So for example, first of all, can you get your arms all the way up overhead and all the way down? And it's important here just to make sure you're not cheating by arching your back or shrugging your shoulder. The next range is, can you put your elbows into your side, palms facing the ceiling, and pull them apart as far as possible? And again, are they at a similar point? And one of the harder ones now is, can you take your arms out to the side and all the way up? And this one's harder because for a lot of people, we can develop a tight chest muscle and it can get a pinching sensation around about this height. And we start to cheat by either bringing our arm forwards or again shrugging our shoulder or tilting our body. So making sure we're going up, out to the side without cheating. And then the absolute hardest movement then is, can you get your hand behind your back to a similar point on both hands without causing too much pain or discomfort? Once you know you've got full range, then you know that that shoulder joint is nice and mobile, that your risk of getting a stiff shoulder or frozen shoulder is significantly reduced. To test our stability and strength is harder to do in your own home, but a little easy test is to use some kind of resistance or weight, elbows into your side, and all you're going to do for one arm on one side, one arm on the other, how many repetitions can you do before your arm feels tired and fatigued of rotating out to the side? And you might fatigue at 6, at 8, at 12, at 15, at 20. All that matters is that your right and your left shoulder are fatiguing at roughly the similar amount of repetitions on each side. Now, you don't just have to test in this specific movement. You could test taking your arm up on each side, out to the side on each side, just picking a couple of movements, maybe some of the exercises you've done in the previous videos, and just checking that the shoulders are fatiguing roughly about the same point on your left and your right. So the next part of this video is just going through a couple of specific movements for some of the various niche sports to just make sure that you have really good shoulder strength and stability to cope with that movement pattern. So this video is going to be broken up into a quick set of warm-up exercises that you can do before any sport. So when you go back to netball, when you go back to Pilates, when you go back and do strength exercises, I would do the 4 exercises in the warm-up. And then the second section is specific strength and loading, particularly to the shoulder blades, so that you are safe to get back to most sports. The warm-up exercises I'm going to do on all fours. However, all of them can be done against a wall. So don't think if you find you can't get on all fours, just do it against a wall. But the first exercise, all we're going to do is try and round our back and push our hands into the floor, and then try and draw our shoulder blades together and away from the ears. And you're just going to do 5 here. So 1, 2, and really think about making sure that your left and right shoulder blade is moving as fluidly as possible. 4, lovely, we've got 1 more here. And it's a great one to just wake up and release any tightness around the shoulder blade. The second exercise is needle and thread, which is something you do in things like Pilates and yoga. And all you're going to do is slide one hand as far as you feel comfortable and then try and open up. And we're just going to do 3 on each side. And this one's nice because it also stretches out your mid-back that can often get really, really stiff. And again on the other side, sliding down and opening up, and just go to a point of stiffness but not pain. And don't worry if you don't get as far as I can. And then the last one in this position is just trying to straighten one arm out in front of you and back down. But whilst you're doing this, making sure that your body isn't shifting. So you're kind of sucking in your belly button, raising the arm, and we're not twisting to enable the arm to raise up. We've got one more on each side. Last one. Fantastic. And then a final warm-up exercise is just keeping your chest stretched. So hands behind your head, and then one-sided, we're going to do 3 on each side. Take your elbow as far as you can and back in. And what this is doing is stretching out your chest muscle. You can even do it with an arm straight, wherever you feel a deeper stretch in your chest, and on the other side. Chest stretches are really important after breast cancer surgery. Most people find that the chest is tighter long term. So keeping a regular stretch routine is just going to help reduce the risk of any future problems because of chest tightness. So one of the first functional sport movements is one that combines your shoulders with your core, and actually we can take it up and work balance. So on the lowest level, just having your feet kind of shoulder width apart, loop a band around something that's not going to come at you. So a door handle is quite useful. And all you're going to do is walk away so that you've got tension in the band, and then you're just pressing out and pulling yourself in, pressing out and pulling yourself in. And you just want to be doing as many repetitions as it takes to cause a little bit of fatigue. So that could be 5, 10, 15. You can take it up a notch by split stancing, and then it was also really challenging your core and your balance, or equally putting in a little bit of a turn and back in, put in a bit of a turn and back in. And this is really useful if you're doing something like netball where you've got to catch the ball, twist and throw. This is a really challenging movement that gets you into those positions. The second one to work on with a band against a wall is pulling the band apart so you've got tension, elbow against the wall, and you just take your arms up as far as you can and then pull them back down. Initially, when you do this, you'll think this is very, very easy. And then after you've been doing this for a good 20 to 30 seconds, you'll really start to feel all your muscles around your shoulder blades burning. Again, it's a really good one for any sorts of sports where you might get into plank positions, press-up positions, or 4-point kneeling positions, because this is the foundation for getting onto the floor. A really good one to get you back to things like swimming, where we need to get full range to actually do a very good swimming movement that is safe, is again using a band to help you cheat. Now, actually having the band a little bit more lax initially, taking your arms up as far as you can and back down, but the long-term goal is actually to go all the way around, which I make this look easy, but some people can't achieve that movement. Don't worry if you can't get all the way around, just go as far as you can. And the way you make it easier is just make your arms wider, and then most of us can go all the way around when we take our arms out that little bit wider. The next exercise again is against a wall, and this one works on proprioception, which is again really important when you're catching something, or if you're putting yourself at risk where you could fall over. It enables your arm to be more reactive so that you're less likely to cause an injury. It's actually best done with a ball, but I don't have a ball in this very moment, but any object against a wall. And all you're going to do is try and do the alphabet. So A, you can do capital or lower letters, it doesn't particularly matter. And your goal is to get all the way to Z. However, most of you will struggle to get there, trust me. It takes a while to build up that proprioception so that you can get all the way to Z before your shoulder is aching too much. So just go to the point of fatigue, stop, and over many weeks, work yourself up to Z. You'll be surprised that's way harder than it looks. And then the final 2 exercises are around planks and press-ups, which are one of the most common questions I get asked is, when can I get back to them? So my preferred starting point is against a wall because you can control the load and it reduces your risk of putting too much pressure on your lymphatic system and putting you at risk of developing things like lymphoedema. So for a plank, all you would do is put your elbows against the wall, start off nice and close, and as you feel better, taking your feet away and actually making it even harder by going up on your tiptoes. And trust me, if you do this right, it is just as hard as doing it on the floor. Or alternatively, you can do it with your arms outstretched, again taking your feet away, and equally you can work into plank modifications such as taking an arm off and the other one, or taking your feet off, and this is actually surprisingly hard. A press up is very much the same, so chest height, pressing yourself in and away, and we make it harder by either taking our feet away or again up onto our tiptoes, or even harder, one leg. Trust me, again, these are just as hard as doing them on the floor. Now, a lot of people do ask me, what do I do about lymphedema? How do I stop myself getting it? And the honest answer is we can't know. Not everyone will develop lymphedema, and your odds and risks are really hard to measure. If you've had one or all of your lymph nodes removed, there is an increased risk because your lymphatic system has been compromised. And as a physio, I do see quite a lot of patients who come to me who's developed lymphedema, and they put it down to doing things like planks and press-ups or downward dogs, so positions where all your body weight is on your arms. Now, it doesn't mean those movements are dangerous, but often what I feel happens is they return to those sports too soon, as in they don't go through all the progressions that we've covered in this video and the previous videos. So if you are someone that goes, I want to do a plank, I want to do a press up, I understand, but start off on the lower level and do it for several weeks, and then slowly build yourself up. Make sure your shoulders are really ready, because a plank and a press up actually puts an awful lot of load on your shoulders, and if there's a vulnerability there, you could take it a bit too far. That is it for the exercises around getting you back to sport. So we've got a couple of stretches that you can do every time you go and do a specific sport, and it's just going to keep things supple and make sure that we don't overload the shoulder. And then a couple of strength-specific ones just to get you back to certain sports such as slight impact like your netball, basketball, rugby, movements where we require full range, such as swimming, and then slowly getting you that real load for things like weightlifting and CrossFit, where someone might want to get back to doing planks and press-ups. Now, the time frame of how to get back to sport is really dependent on each individual. Generally speaking, once you've got that full range and you feel that both shoulders are quite even, you can start to get back to that sport. Not a problem, just speak with your instructors, make sure they're aware of your recovery so that they can just watch out for any signs of compensations and just start really gently. Please don't try and run before you can walk, because often that's when we see problems. Even if it feels okay at the time, the way our body works is it might not actually let you know it's done damage until a day or two later. So start at a really low level, take down the weights, take down the repetitions, or just slightly change the positioning, and over time you'll start to rebuild your confidence. Building strength takes a minimum of 6 to 8 weeks. So anything you start, you need to see through for 2 months before you know you can start to progress. So just go gentle, build yourself up, and just don't go back to it too fast or too soon. And then the final topic I just wanted to talk about is signs and symptoms of lymphedema. And it's just because often once people get back to sports, that's when we start to see these symptoms. And again, it's often because people just go back a bit too fast too soon and just push their body beyond its comfortable limits. So the key thing to watch out for is any tightness, heaviness, or signs of swelling. If you're going back to a sport that is particularly high load or impact to the arm, what I would recommend doing is wearing some kind of watch or ring or something that you can spot early signs of swelling, wearing it all the time and then comparing wrist to wrist if there's a difference, because the earlier we see it, the earlier we can get on top of it and make sure it doesn't get worse. When you're doing some kinds of activities, whether it's putting a weight overhead, trying to do a plank or a press up, what you're looking for is making sure that you're not feeling like you're putting too much pressure on one side and that there isn't a feeling of heaviness or discomfort in the armpit. If you feel that pressure, you need to take it down a notch, and it might be going onto your knees, changing the position to against the wall or on your back. You're not going backwards, you're just protecting an area that is vulnerable. It's really important to say that lymphedema is something that you can't help. You haven't done anything to cause it, it's just the area is damaged and it's been overloaded, and now we've got swelling and fluid overload. So it's not something you've done, it's not a sign of weakness, it's just there's a vulnerability there, and we just unfortunately have to change the movements to not cause any more overload. I hope you found this video useful. Leave a thumbs up if you did, and let me know in the comments below if you've got any thoughts or anything that you want me to cover in future videos. I'm always keen to try and make content that's educational and gives good advice for people struggling with any symptoms relating to cancer or physiotherapy problems. All I will say to finish is I wish you the best of luck with your treatments, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video.